This is a maths revision video by Andrew Brodie from AB Education. Fractions, decimals and percentages 1. Before looking at fractions, decimals and percentages, it's vitally important to completely understand how numbers are written in columns. The most important column is the units column, shown here with a capital letter U. Some people call this the ones column. All the other columns are positioned relative to the units. Next to the units is the tens column. Next to the tens is the hundreds, then the thousands, the 10,000s, and so on. The columns actually go on forever. If we look at a number such as 3,127, we can see it has 7 in the units, 2 in the tens, 1 in the hundreds, and 3 in the thousands. The number 47,592 has 2 units, 9 tens, 5 hundreds, 7 thousands, and 4 10,000s. Next to the units on the other side is the tenths column. If we write a number in the tenths column, we have to write something in the units column, and we write a decimal point to show exactly which columns we're looking at. Next to the tenths column is the hundreds column. Look at the number 0.25. It has no whole numbers, but it has 2 tenths and 5 hundredths. The number 4.75 has 4 units, 7 tenths and 5 hundredths. If we remove the column headings, it's the decimal point that shows us which columns we're looking at. We know that the number to the left of the decimal point is in the units column, and the number to the right of the decimal point is in the tenths. Imagine this is a cake, and we're cutting it into 10 equal-sized pieces. Each piece is 1/10 of the whole cake. 1/10 can be written as a fraction by writing 1/10. The top number of a fraction is called the numerator, and the bottom number is called the denominator. The fraction 1/10 can be written as a decimal by writing 1 in the tenths column. Now we have 2 tenths, written as 2/10 or as 0.2. 3 tenths is the same as 0.3, 4 tenths is the same as 0.4, and 5 tenths is the same as 0.5, but we can also see that it's the same as a half. Here's another cake. We cut it into 10 equal pieces, so each one is 1/10 of the cake. But now we cut each of those pieces into 10 equal pieces, so now we have 100 small pieces, and each small piece is 100th of the cake. 100th can be written as 1/100, or it can be written as 1 in the hundredths column, so it's 0.01. 25 hundredths are the same as 2 tenths and 5 hundredths, so we write 0.25. Look at the cake, that's the same as a quarter of the cake. 50 hundredths are the same as 5 tenths, which is 0.5, and that's the same as half the cake. 75 hundredths are the same as 7 tenths and 5 hundredths, so we write 0.75, which is the same as 3/4 of the cake. Now look at this chart, which will show some of the fractions and decimals we've seen already. Look at the first column. The heading says fraction, so here's the fraction 1/10. The second column says fraction with denominator 100, so we're going to change the fraction 1/10 to an equivalent fraction with the denominator 100. You will remember from the picture of the cake that 1/10 is the same as 10 hundredths. You will also remember that 1/10 is the same as 0.1. So that's what's written in the decimal column. The final column is the percentage column. Percent means out of 100. So if you look at the blue column showing the fraction with denominator 100, we can see that we've got 10 out of 100, so the percentage is 10%. The first row is now complete. We can see that 1/10 is worth the same as 10 hundredths, or 0.1, or 10%. Look at the fraction in the next row. 1/2. The picture of the cake showed us that a half is the same as 50 hundredths. A half is also the same as 0.5, and it's the same as 50%. Notice how the blue columns match. Look at the fraction in the next row, 1/4. The picture of the cake showed us that 1/4 is the same as 25 hundredths. That's the same as 0.25, and it's the same as 25%. Notice again how the blue columns match. Here are some more fractions: 3/4, 2 tenths, 1/100th. 1/100th already has the denominator 100, so we can just copy that straight into that column. See if you can work out what should be written in each cell of the chart that is marked with a letter. Don't forget, with the cell marked G, you will need to use the hundredths column. Pause the video while you find the answers. Here are the answers. In cell A, the answer is 75 hundredths, B 0.75, C 75%. Try to remember the facts shown here. 3/4 is the same value as 75 hundredths, 0.75 or 75%. In D it should be 20 hundredths, E is 0.2, F 20%. G 0.01, because we haven't got any tenths, we've just got 1 in the hundredths. H 1/100th gives us 1%.